Hey, what's going on, DDO players? Axel here. Today, I'm going to be giving you my full review, impressions, thoughts, and opinions on DDO's newest expansion, the Masterminds of Sharn. Sharn is DDO's fourth expansion released on May 14th, 2019. It includes 9 main story quests, 8 side quests, a wilderness area, and 2 raids. One raid is out currently. The other raid is going to be released in an upcoming patch. The main public area in Sharn consists of 2 areas. There's a main city area where there are 9 main story quests, and there's a separate dock area which has crafting in it, but not a whole lot else currently. The wilderness area is called the Cogs, which is a sort of a cave-like underground area with a lot of lava and machinery in it. It contains the 8 side quests in the pack. There's some new things in Sharn, a lot of new things we haven't seen. Some new monsters in the pack include goblins, the long-awaited goblins, Odiugs, shield guardians, fire beetles, some small dinosaurs as well, and also some different cosmetic alterations or alternatives to monsters we've seen before in DDO. The 9 main story quests are focused on a story that is sort of a whodunit or mystery type story of sorts. The quests connect together very well. They all build upon each other in terms of the story, and you learn more and more about what's going on in the city as you progress in the quests, the 9 main story quests. The main story quests are shorter in scope than, say, the expansion like Ravenloft was overall. And in terms of length, they're also shorter overall, I would say, than the prior expansion Ravenloft. That could be a good thing or a bad thing, just depending on your preference. These quests might not be as immersive as, say, the Ravenloft quests were, but on the other hand, they might be better for smaller and shorter play sessions among some players. I felt overall that the quests were very solid. There's nothing crazy that's crazy new or different in these quests, so don't expect a lot of brand new mechanics that we've never seen in DDO. Don't expect any brand new crazy puzzle that you've never seen, anything like that. They're, for the most part, pretty standard in terms of formula and design in terms of what we've seen in other quests in DDO over the past several years, with not too many exceptions. One exception being a quest called Just Business. In this quest, your character actually does their best Green Goblin impression, where you get to fly around the city on a sky sled. The Cogs quests, for the most part, are very short quests. These quests are shorter in scope, even shorter than the mainline quests. Like, we're talking 5-minute quests here for a lot of them. Not all of them, but for most of them, they're very, very short. So with these quests, there's nothing too game-changing about them. They're pretty standard in terms of formula and build to other quests you've seen in the game. The gimmick to them, or the special gimmick to them, just seems to be that they were very short. The one quest in the Cogs that stood out to me as perhaps being an exception, being a little bit different, was the quest Roll Call, where your character actually runs through all kinds of tubes like you're in Chuck E. Cheese or something, but you have to go all the way through and find your way through various twisting tubes, which is kind of cool. May not be cool if you're someone who's claustrophobic, but otherwise I found it a fairly enjoyable quest. As I mentioned before, only one raid is out currently. The current raid is called Too Hot to Handle, which is a shorter quest, a shorter raid as well. It's for the most part a one-room raid. It's focused on fighting a very large forest wraith, which is kind of like a big fire monster. It's a fire themed raid, so make sure going into the raid you have all your fire resistance, fire sheath, and stuff ready to go. There's also the overall design of the raid centers around some party members are dealing with solving lever puzzles, others are dealing with killing trash, others are focusing on the boss. It's a raid that requires a lot of party coordination. It also has a damage over time mechanic similar to what we saw in Riding the Storm Out, a somewhat newer raid, I think, from the past few years. The raid itself is very challenging currently, even on the lowest difficulty. So be prepared to go into the raid with a party who knows what they're doing and is very organized. The second raid, as I mentioned before, will be released in a future patch. The Cogs Wilderness area consists of normal slayers, rares, and explorers, as we've seen in other explorer areas throughout the game, so nothing crazy new there either. It is fairly large, not the largest by any means of what we've seen in the game, seen before in the game, but it is a fairly somewhat large adventure area with plenty of places to run around, explore, and flower sniff if you so desire. The loot in this expansion is simply awesome. It's the best loot in the game that's been released up to this date. But I think it does it in a very good way. It doesn't just outpower all of the gear in Ravenloft as well, but at the same time, it is a solid increase in power that I think is to be expected with an expansion. There's also some new kinds of loot. We have minor artifacts, which are a new gear type that expands on DDO's sentient weapons system. So now it's time for my opinions overall. So how good is the expansion? Is it worth buying? And how does it compare to the others? I think overall it's a good expansion. In my opinion, I would rank it third currently in terms of the best DDO expansions. I would put it behind Ravenloft and Menace of the Underdark, but definitely ahead of the Shadowfell Conspiracy. That does not mean that the expansion isn't good. I think it's quite good. It just isn't quite as mind-blowing as, say, Ravenloft was when it was released. It doesn't have that kind of ambiance. I don't think the quests are quite as good and quite as creatively designed and immersive as Ravenloft was. But that said, it's still a very solid expansion that I think is a lot of fun. My biggest complaint about the expansion overall is going to be the public area. Sharn should feel like a huge city, and to be honest, it just doesn't in DDO. There's only 2 public areas in Sharn, and neither of them are that large. The dock area is practically vacant currently, even though I can see them filling it up with perhaps a new adventure pack coming perhaps this year or next year. But currently it feels very empty. The city itself should be a big city, and it just doesn't. There's not a lot of places to run around in the Sharn public area. That said, you do get to see a lot of the city in the quests themselves. My other complaint about the public area is that the story quests and NPCs are extremely close to each other, and they all share the same entrances. It just isn't very immersive. While it is convenient to have all of the NPCs and all of the quest givers right there in the same area, it feels like in the public area we should have reasons to run around the city and talk to different people in the city as we go on these adventures, and it doesn't feel quite immersive enough, even though it is convenient and quick to get to the quests. And I've mentioned the quests several times, and while I like the quests, I do feel they could have been a bit more creative at times. A lot of mechanics throughout the quest we've seen plenty of times before in DDO, such as finding crests or solving tile puzzles. At the same time, the quests don't have any annoying mechanics, and they don't have anything that they do very, very poorly either. These quests are very puggable, very farmable, and the mob diversity is great. And they've even added things in the quest such as red map indicators that help show you where you need to go and what you need to kill. So if you have an objective to kill a certain creature, you don't have to, it might be easier for you to not have to run around the map just blindly to try to find it if you've lost your way. You can have these map indicators that actually point you towards where you need to go. So that makes the quests less annoying than perhaps they could be. The quests, I think, for these reasons and others, are very enjoyable to run over and over and over, and in DDO this is something you do. The content is supposed to be designed to be run repeatedly, and if you're interested in getting all the gear and loot and all the cool things out of these quests, you will be running the chain over and over. I think the wilderness area, the Cogs, is excellent. The teleport option here will not teleport you directly to quests the way that Ravenloft did, but it will teleport you to general areas once you've found them, sort of like the Giant Hold wilderness area does. I think that this gives a very good balance of both immersion and convenience. The mechanic working like this does give you a reason to run through the Cogs area and collect Slayers, Rares, and Explorers as you move from Cogs Quest to Cogs Quest. But at the same time, this is balanced out by the fact that the Cogs quests themselves are very short. So the running to me does not feel like a waste of time because, again, the quests themselves are very short. And even the runs between the quests are not overly long. We're talking maybe a minute to run from quest to quest if you know where you're going. The loot in Sharn is simply spectacular. If you are into running at endgame, if you're into min-maxing your character, this expansion is a mandatory purchase. I see Sharn as being a main focus of the endgame for years to come, just like Ravenloft was. So I can see this expansion being run repeatedly, even in 2020 and 2021 by the player base. Overall, I'd give the expansion a B+ or A-. It has some issues, but overall, I do recommend buying it. I think it's a very good buy. It isn't as good as Ravenloft was. It doesn't have that kind of ambiance. The quests aren't as well designed. You don't see as much creativity as we saw in Ravenloft. We don't have that awe-inspiring aura of awesomeness that Ravenloft had, but Sharn itself is still a very solid expansion and still very good nonetheless. Currently, it's $40 in the DDO market. That includes all of the quest content, plus the new Tiefling race and a major guild renown elixir, and some astral shards. There's also 2 higher price bundles that offer more. And if you want to wait, it is coming to the DDO store in September 2019 to be purchasable with points. It will be 2,495 DDO points for the expansion content and 1,595 DDO points for the Tiefling race. So if you want to wait, it is an option. And if you have a lot of DDO points saved up, that might be something you want to do. But considering the expansion, it is quite good. I would recommend, if you're sitting here listening to this video in May or June 2019, I would say just go ahead and buy it so you can enjoy the expansion throughout the summer. It's well worth the $40. So guys, that's going to be it for my review of the expansion. If you want to see more about this, I have other videos in my channel going into detail talking about the purchase options in terms of the DDO market. I have videos of me playing through most of the Sharn content if you want to see that as well on my channel. I'll link all this below in the description. But guys, I hope this video helped you out if you're trying to decide if you want to buy the expansion or not. Let me know what you think about the expansion below. Tell me if you agree or disagree with me. I hope you all enjoyed the video. That's going to be it for today. I'll see you all next time. Take care.